Today, we are excited to begin the month of May, and May is going to be all about website traffic. All right? Yay. All right. So, today the title is How to Improve Website Traffic Experience Using Relevant Content Pages. We know that you are overwhelmed with learning online. You're overwhelmed with watching videos. We get it. We are too. So I'm actually knowing that productivity is more important and getting into action is more important. So I've stopped looking at videos. So anyway, I just read headlines. So that's a tip for you today. Get into action, get into what you need to do. So anyway, so if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, consultant, or a member of a marketing team, you need to stay focused and put the right relevant information into your time that you are allotting to learning. So in other words, if you decide to stop looking at videos, you should not throw out videos that will make you execute your marketing better. Those are very relevant information. So if you think you're too busy to learn, well, that's a big mistake, because then you're going to be saying, goodbye competition. They have just ran past you without you even knowing it. If you wait for when government allows you to officially open your doors to figure out how to ramp sales back up, well, goodbye competition. They're at the finish line waiting with their packages for their customers to come into the door and to give them their purchases that they've already purchase. If you are serious about selling your products, it begins with you. It begins from your one and only online platform that you own. It's your website. And so therefore, the month of May is dedicated, Hillary and I, on Business Development TV, Trinidad and Tobago. All our live videos like this are in that group. If you really are serious about getting your marketing up and running and relevant to your traffic, then you want to join that group and you want to stay up to date with what we're sharing. Relevant content pages is what we're talking about today. And the website traffic is like a dance. If you make the anticipated moves, they are going to take the right reaction to because they are anticipating your move, and because you are listening, you know what relevant pages to put up on your website. So that's what we're going to be tackling today. What relevant moves with regards to your content you should be making on your website.
Wonderful. All right. And today our guest, you're going to have to help me pronounce the name, Dominique.
That's good enough. I love it.
Dominique, he's an accomplished technology and marketing director coming from Canada, it is?
Yes,
in Canada, right. All right. As well as he's also a program manager. He brings with him over 25 years of experience delivering countless strategies.
That's all you need. I'm an expert. I got 25 years of experience, and my drive and my purpose in life is just to help businesses succeed and help people succeed. I like to add value to everything I do, and that's actually why I'm here today, is because I want to just see if I can help add some value.
Yeah.
Excellent. Dominic, we are going to be covering today. Are you French related?
Me? Yes? No, I am.
No? How did you get a name like Dominic?
Dominique.
And spelled like that?
I am Italian, 100% Italian.
Italian.
Yeah.
And with a surname like Ali, how does that work?
That's a great question. I wish I knew. In Italy, it's a famous name as well. Ali means wings in Italy, so it's it's pretty cool. But that's all. That's all I got. I don't know.
Okay, because Ali for me is a very Indian.
It is a very Indian name.
Okay. Indian is not far away from you.
We're from the south of Italy, so you never know. There might have been some immigration at one point.
They rule over to Italy and they landed and doing awesome. Great. Okay, so we're going to get into our content.
Let's do it.
Yes, here's my pages. Content pages. Can you tell us why is it necessary for a website to be adding relevant content to their website?
You know, you kind of touched on a couple of the things actually when you first started speaking there, Brenda. The two words that you used that were, I hope everybody caught them, is your website, you own it, number one. And then the dance part of it. I love the dance part. That's probably the best analogy I've ever heard. And the next time you and I meet on one of our world things, you and I are going to dance. But so here's the website. Think about real estate. When you rent versus own, content on your website, you own it. It's there forever, right? You bought it, you curated it, you own it, it's there. And you can use that to build a foundation that'll continue to grow. And that foundation of content, dancing already.
Sorry.
Don't worry. And that foundation of content is going to, if you do it right, it's going to help develop your expertise, your authority, and your trust. You're going to start to showcase to people why you are where you are, why you are doing what you're doing, what is the problem that you're solving for people. And over time, this will do a couple things. It'll help attract visitors to your site because you have answers to their questions, right? If you curate it properly, it'll attract the right visitors to your site. The other thing it will do is if you have the right material on your website that shows me that you're an expert in whatever it is you're selling or doing, it'll also help increase the conversion to sale. So visitors come to your website, you have content on your site that's relevant to them, you've established the level of trust, showing them that you've been doing this for years, for example, or whatever other maybe testimonial stuff on your website. Again, content you own that'll convince me that I should do business with you.
Excellent, excellent. I think you pretty much covered it right there. I love the, I'm not, well, you gave the word curate a very 2-second thing there, but it's also a very, very important aspect of putting up the content because when people have their website, they think that they should be sharing their whole website to people. But Google has actually changed that almost, what, 5-7 years ago?
Yep.
That the page is the relevant aspect, not the whole website.
Yeah, it all comes together in the overall quality of your site and your experience. And you want people to stick around on your website, but Google and all the search engines out there, and even when you do your own advertising, you really want to direct them to what we would in the industry call a landing page.
Yeah.
And that's where they go to that one page. They're going to see information there that is not too much information, not too little. It's just enough to get them to want to continue or commit to that one page. If they need to dive deeper, it'll be easier for them to say, well, I want to learn more about this one thing, this product that you're selling. And you might have links or relevant information there, but they can go back and forth easier. But what you're doing is developing that trust with them, starting with that one page.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. So let's get into the trust factor, because you said that your pages and your website is supposed to build that trust factor with the traffic that's coming. And traffic sounds like, well, a lot of us don't like the actual physical traffic. But when, as a website builder, we talk about traffic, we're talking about directing traffic to your website. Right? So yeah. Traffic is a good thing for your website.
Yes.
So how do we build trust?
There's a thing about it. Let's take the website out of it for a second, but how do you and I build trust between each other, right? Why is it that when we first started this conversation, you had an introduction that was talking about the pain point of what you're trying to solve? We have a theme, you know, we're talking about how content's going to help us. So messaging on your website, the way you communicate to people is the first step, in my opinion, on developing trust. You need to speak to them, I want to say, in a language that they understand. So if you serve a community of doctors, for example, the reading level or the comprehension level on your website should sound very intellectual. It should provide them relevant information to what they might see in their field, so that they know, oh, I am communicating with somebody who is at my level. So that's one part of it. You got to know your persona of who you're talking to. The other thing that kind of establishes trust is, do you really hear me? Do you hear active listening, right? So how do I show that you hear me through words that I say? Well, it's very easy. I show you, or I repeat to you your pain and your problems, right? So, hey, your water heater broke down. Oh, it's cold in your house. I understand. Okay, I just established a level of trust because I know you and I are on the same level now. I understand you have a pain. I've listened to your pain, and I'm telling you I'm going to help you fix that pain, right? So make sure that you are addressing the customer's pain point. I can't stress this one enough. Many businesses get this one wrong. And the reason why they get this wrong is because they look at their product. I got a pen, for example, and this pen is meant for writing. If I go on my website and say, I got the best writing instrument in the world, that doesn't do anything. What you need to do is tell people when you need to write a note, when you need to sign something important, when you need to put something on paper, I have the instrument for you, regardless if it's a pen or not, right? What you have to focus on is, what is the job that your product is solving, right? And with a pen, it's very easy. But when you talk about entertainment products, for example, when you talk about apps, when you talk about things, productivity apps, it gets a little bit more difficult. So what I advise people to do, if you really want to establish trust, is talk to your existing customers and ask them why they like you, why they're sticking around with you, and understand what problem you actually solved for them. Because just because you have the product and the answer doesn't mean you know why they actually bought from you. When you know that information, chances are that the person next to you or next to them who's like them wants to buy it for the same reason. Put that answer on your website.
All right. Excellent. Well, you just kind of jumped on one of my questions right there that I saw that someone sent me earlier this week. Data. Should I buy data, or should I, where should I get my data from? How do I research what my customers want?
Let's start talking to your customers.
Right. So you just,
Get on the phone with your customers. It's hard when you have 1,000 customers, or if you're fortunate enough to have thousands of customers, it's very hard to listen to them. But we in digital marketing have channels for opening up channels have tools and techniques for open up channels to listen, whether the social media channels or reputation management channels. That's one. But if you're in a smaller business like ours, like mine, for example, I spend a good percentage of my time every week talking to the top X% of my customers on the actual phone, getting on the phone with them and learning about their problems today or this week. To draw a parallel, imagine that your business is a stage and you're on that stage speaking to all of your customers, and your customers are sitting in rows in an auditorium, for example, and you get to decide where your customers sit. In the first row, you're going to put those X number of customers. You only have 12 seats. You're going to put the top customers there so that they get to see you firsthand. And the second row and third row and so on. Imagine who's in your first row and go speak to them, right? Speak to them once a month. Talk to them. Get in person. Have an hour conversation. Imagine who is in your second row. Email them. Communicate with them. Ask them questions and surveys and so on. And this is a great way to actually, as a small business owner or medium-sized owner, to get into that level of communication with your client.
Correct. And how would your website give you data? How do you use your website to give you data?
Oh, there's a lot of great ways to do that, right? So make sure that your marketing advisor that you're working with, whoever set up your website, has set up all the proper analytics for you. Right? And they're going to begin to monitor traffic, and they're going to see where that traffic is coming from, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or Google search engines, paid advertising versus organic. We're going to see where they land. We're going to see they came from these sources, and then we're going to see where they landed. To your point earlier, Google doesn't point them to the page of your website, right? Google.
I don't know why everybody's calling me.
No worry. So It's WSI calling. Say, get that guy off the screen.
Okay.
Anyway, so Google will send people, and I'm using Google as an example, but search engines will send people to a page of your website or a product on your website. So we see that through the analytics. The other thing we see is how long do people stay on that page? How long did they stay on your site? When did they leave? What's the percentage? 100 people came to your site and 80% of them left. Is that good or bad? We don't know. We collect data over time and we compare it to see what's relative or what's not. 20% in some industries might be amazing. 3% in some industries might be amazing. In some, it might be terrible. So our job as analysts is to figure out from that data that we see what people like about your site. And sometimes the data might uncover some surprises because you'll see pages or products that you didn't understand were attracting visitors and maybe not even converting or selling, but for some reason, a lot of traffic is going there. Let's capitalize on that. Let's figure out what is it about that page that is attracting the search engines, and how can I convert that into sales?
Exactly.
Excellent.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. So how do I make sure that my content on my website, that it's kind of unified and consistent in terms of the theme, in terms of, because there's so many different aspects to our website. Let's say, to the products and services that we sell. Let's say, for instance, I'm a hairdresser and I sell the shampoos as well as I do the service. So how do I make sure my content on my website does both? Fill my time slots, my appointments, as well as sell my products.
Well, so that one's a little bit more of a specific example.
Yeah.
But I want to kind of take it up one level and say, remember who you're selling to, right? So as a hairdresser, are your clientele women or are they men, right? So number one, why are they coming to you? They're coming to you obviously that's a good one. Are they coming there to take care of their hair, or are they coming there to look pretty, to look beautiful,
Well, that's the deeper one.
Right?
Yeah.
But this is what we need to understand is, as a hairdresser, what is the problem you solve? Right? I'm coming there because I want to look great today. I want to look great for the next month. I want to look great for an event or something. So that's the common thread. Okay. So the pain is not my hair is out of shape, please fix it. Because look at COVID.
Well, that is the current problem right now.
Right.
Most people, COVID.
Right. But COVID, if anything, COVID has shown us that fixing my hair is not what I really need to do. When I go out in public, I want to look great. This is why I'm coming to my hairdresser, right? This is what we talked about earlier. What is the problem you actually solve? Or for example, I might be the hairdresser that does only weddings for some reason. Everybody comes to me because they know when I do elaborate stuff, it's the best in the country and they're coming to me. So know that part of it, so you got that common thread going. Once you have that, then put your messaging. So, hey, you want the best wedding appointment? Come here. And by the way, before your appointment, let's buy these products to get your hair treated and conditioned properly, so that when you come for your appointment, you're going to have the best experience possible, right? So that might be something important to do too. Know the pain point first, so you can have that common thread. And that common thread is always, as you were going to say, you said with your dance analogy, takes them from the problem that you solve for them, dances their way into either the product or the appointment or both.
Right. And so therefore, when you're actually, the reason why I like that analogy of dancing, it's like when I go out in the morning, especially, well, when I used to go out at sunrise, right? I used to love watching how the clouds and the sunrise dance together. If there's no clouds, then you don't see the beauty of the sunrise.
That's right.
So they dance together, right? And so therefore, and what does it give you and me when we look at this this experience? Is that it makes you feel happy.
I love it. It's the other reason the dance analogy works is if you watch people dance and you watch the leader of the dance kind of take people in directions, That dance, if he does it 100 times, will look 100 times different every single time. It'll look different every single time. And this is your website as well. Yes, I may be doing right foot, left foot, so on, or I may be do a 2-step, 1-step, but for some reason I land that foot differently every time. And so it looks beautiful every single time, but it looks different every time. This is your website experience. I solved the problem. You have a wedding coming up, you're going to be a guest, you want to look great, you come here and you found me. Now you're saying, oh, well, you know what? I want that appointment in a month from now. And we say to you, and by the way, between now and then, I want you to condition your hair with this, so it's easier to do your hair. And we give them a beautiful thing about it. In that one example, they might have taken that path and bought a product, booked an appointment. Sometimes they might just come and book the book with you and say, I'll book it now 3 months in advance. But now you have content that you email to them and say, hey, by the way, in 3 months, you're going to come to our salon. I want you to take a look at this article about conditioning your hair before an appointment, right? So that we can make it even more elaborate and we can work better with it, right? And I'm not a hairdresser, so
No,
I don't even know if any of that's true, right?
No, it is true.
Right? But if that's the case, though, right? This is how the dance just got different, right?
Yeah.
And you need the content on your website, the content in your whole digital experience leads to that. In that case was an email that brought them back to the product. So the dance was left foot, then right foot, and then back to the left foot, right? So it kind of changed from the first dance.
Yeah, correct. You kind of touched on something that for me, I find in Trinidad and Tobago, if companies would actually find a network that works well, complements their services, then everybody is going to do better. Yes. Like, for instance, if I'm a hairdresser, I don't necessarily need to sell a shampoo, but if I tell my people where to get the shampoo, and therefore I create a lovely relationship there, then that person automatically and happily refers her customers to come to me and tell them that I'm the best hairdresser for weddings and for big events, graduations, etc. You know.
Well, that's not fair. You left the easy example for me, but let's say you're the hairdresser and you talk to all the wedding people, the wedding planners out there, right? Yeah. And you give guest posts to the wedding planners and say, look, here's an article about doing your hair. Why don't you put this on your website? You give them the content. They put it on their website and they put your name and your picture beside it and your link back to your website saying, look, here's an expert hairdresser. She's telling you what to do for your wedding. All of a sudden, anybody who stumbles upon the wedding planner will then find you, right? Anything to do with a wedding now, for example, right? So sometimes you rent a restaurant or a hall. Those people want their website to stand out. How do you plan the best wedding? Well, you got to get a hairdresser. You got to get a photographer. And here's an article from our hairdresser. Here you go. Go visit our hairdresser, right? All about content strategy. Yeah. And that's the strategy. That's the strategy part that we were kind of touching upon as well.
And Bernie, one of the things that you touched on, even if you're using that content strategy, one of the things that you mentioned earlier is don't just link to your homepage, right? So if you want to book an appointment, make sure that the content is booking to the booking page. Because they've already consumed the content. They already hooked.
You're right.
And so
you're right. So ask the wedding planner and say, don't send them to my homepage. Give them this link, and this is the booking page. Right. So one of the things that through all my studies, one of my professors and mentors told me once, and it stuck with me, is a phrase that he said, say it 7 different ways from Sunday. Right. And I want to explain what that means. Right. So, well, there's 7 days in a week. Right. So starting on Sunday, you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm a hairdresser. On Tuesday, you get up and you go to the wedding planner and you say, tell everybody I'm a hairdresser. On Wednesday, you go to the restaurant and you say, tell everybody I'm a hairdresser. I just said it 3 different ways. Do it 7 different ways. Start on Sunday and say it 7 different ways and get that attention out there. By doing that, you're reaching out to the market. You say the same thing over and over again, but you're saying it in different ways. And that was a simplistic example, but a more detailed example would be, well, here's the up bun, and here's the braids, and here's the ponytails, and here's this style. 7 different ways. Say it over and over and over again. So now what you've done over time, you're building up your expertise. You're showing people that you're an authority by using other websites to tell them about your content and promote your content. But you're also, because you have that expertise and you have other websites pointing to you, you're building up that trust. Because you know what? If that wedding planner trusts Bernie enough to put Bernie's content on their website, they got to be good, right?
Exactly.
Right? Why would Dominic put Bernadette's website on his website if Bernadette's website's no good? There's a trust factor there. And you know who else sees the trust factor outside of the consumer is the search engine. How many websites out there know that Bernadette is being talked about, right? And they see, well, that's got to be important. That's got to mean something.
Yes, excellent,
Exactly.
excellent. And what you touched on in that last couple of minutes is pretty much how to get the dance flowing, and how to do it without being a miserable friend. And, you don't want to go to people and says, okay, tag, okay, share this for me, share that. No, you want to connect in the right way that doesn't make people feel as if you're harassing them.
Yeah. So if there's a couple things that people can take away, we want 7 different ways from Sunday. Get your content out there. And you know what? The other thing is, when we're in business, another really important kind of metaphor is the rising tides float all boats. We hear that all the time. So talk to your business partners, your strategic partners. Talk to the wedding planners. Talk to the restaurants. Talk to the DJs. Talk to the music people. Get together and say, look, I have content that'll help your business and mine. Why don't we work together, right? Yeah. That is super important, because when that wedding planner, if you help them and you give to them, just give, because givers gain, right? Like V and I will tell you, right? But when you give to that wedding planner and you really help them out, things will come back to you. It'll come. It'll take time, but things will come back.
Yeah, excellent. Can we get into strategy in terms of building out my content? Because I'm busy working in my business. Okay, let's change the business now. Let's say I sell lights, okay, all sorts of lights. And I'm busy in my business. I'm selling lights. People are coming into the door. People are calling me, etc., etc. I don't have time to market. So how can I have a good strategy that helps me keep putting up relevant content on my pages and building relevant content pages? Well,
if you don't have time, you're going to work with a WSI advisor, number one.
Yeah, get an expert to do your content.
You're gonna get an expert. But here's a couple things when you're working with an expert. Number one is you need to make sure that the expert understands what they're talking about. They understand your customer persona and all of that. So you, as the business owner, have a role to play. The other thing that we like to do, just to give an example of a good strategy, is what we call the pillar content strategy. And I love this strategy because what it does is it says, okay, over a period of time, let's call it a quarter, we're going to implement a strategy where we first talk about LED lights and how they're super helpful. And we're going to work with our content marketing team, and we're going to ask them to write a nice big long article about LED lights, the pros, the cons, the advantages, disadvantages, all of that, and why you would end up buying LED lights. A big long article, maybe 1,000 words, maybe even up to 2,000. You put that up on your website, so now you have good information for people to kind of come to. But now, going back to the 7 different ways from Sunday, what we can do is use that initial pillar of content, and we can stretch on it and expand on it. So within that, you might have had a bullet point or a paragraph about costs or cost savings. Well, let's do a shorter article showing people the cost savings aspect of it. And then now that you have that article kind of reaching off the pillar or branch, how do we tell people about that new little shorter article? Or we call it a blog post, for example. Well, there's different ways to publish it. But why not write a quick email that says, hey, I wrote this blog post. In there, you're going to find these 3 different bullet points. I think it's great for you. Send that email to what we would call your nurture list. Have them read it. Now they'll come back. So the pillar strategy kind of starts with a strong pillar and gives us many different avenues for pushing that content out there. Another different avenue using the pillar strategy might be your social media posts, right? Save 25% on your heating bill this year, right? Or your electricity bill. And you post that out there. And then the link will be back to either the blog post or the pillar post, right? To your points earlier, both of you talked about is what do we do on that page? Don't point them back to just a page with a big long article. Maybe point them to a page that has some bullet points and an offer, right? And a form to fill out. All of this is where your digital marketing advisor is going to come in and help you with that strategy of it. We come up with this strategy. The one warning I give all my clients is you need to tell us about the client's persona, their pain, and what is your purpose? Why are you driven to help them succeed? And you really need to work with this, because if our messaging that we create for you on your behalf doesn't align with the heart of your company, things are not going to go well for either of us. So as advisors, we're going to push you on that, and we're going to ask you a lot of great questions about that. But the heart of your business needs to come through in this pillar strategy that we put together for you. And it's on you to kind of give us that two-way feedback and help us make that better and better for you. Does that make sense, Bernadette?
Oh, totally. Because it actually it can actually keep you busy for 3 to 5 months. Easy.
Yeah.
And all along the line, you just jumping pages. You're going from page 25 to page 2, 3, 4. I'm sorry, wrong direction. Page 5, 2, and then page 1.
It can go in any direction, right? That's the beauty of pillar content, right? I can pull out segments of my pillar content from the end of the article and get people to jump back to the beginning. That's okay. But I think the main point is we'll help you design that strategy, and it can be very complex, very simple, depending on your budget. So it always works with your budget. It will keep you busy for a long point of time. You're absolutely right on that. But I need to really stress, as I do with all my clients, as advisors, we're going to get to the heart of your business. So you really need to think hard, talk to your customers, learn about what they like and they don't like. I actually have a great example on that, where I worked with a client, and hopefully he's not watching. Well, he is watching this probably. But I worked with a client once where he wanted to go into a whole new market segment. He typically worked with people in their 60s, and then he asked me to try to attract customers in their 40s to events at night. And what we realized is these people in their 40s were busy with young families, and they never showed up to these events. And he spent so much money trying to get them to their events. And I talked to him and I said, well, what was working in the past for you? I don't get it. You told me you had successful events. And he said, yeah, but those people were in their 60s. Well, you know what? Let's work with that. The next event we did and we promoted for him, we went back to his target audience, his consumer, the heart of his business. And all of a sudden we filled the room, standing room only. Right? The heart of your business matters. Know who your customer is, know who you're working with, expand slowly from there. Maybe work with people in their 65 to 70 or 55 to 60. Yeah. But don't all of a sudden jump to people in their 40s and not even understand that they have a totally different set of problems.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I think maybe he was thinking that his 60-year-old group joined him 20 years ago. So he wants to make sure that he goes back, but not realizing that in today's world, people are getting married at 35, 40.
Yes.
And that's why their kids are still young. They can't go out. You know?
All of us, right?
But yeah, it goes to that big deep dive into who you're selling to and who resonates best with what you sell.
Oh, you nailed it right there. Who resonates to your message, right?
Yeah.
You know, everybody, there's certain laws of attraction in both physics and in human relationships. You know, we resonate well. We have a good vibe together. So we are here together on this show, right? But if we didn't, we wouldn't be here together. Working with your customers the same way. If we don't resonate well, if we don't have that joint messaging, which we talked about earlier, if we don't speak a similar language, we're not going to get along. And I'm not going to buy from you. You're not going to sell to me. I will buy from the people that I resonate best with.
Yeah, correct.
Exactly.
And your website is the one that you own, and it's the one that you send out into the outer space, and you bring traffic back to you.
Own is a key word, right? Because one thing they taught us when I talked about inbound marketing with some certain CRMs is they'll tell you that content you own, your website, you own it. So think of it like owning your home. And content that you pay advertising for example, that is content you rent. Think about it like when you're renting an apartment. When you stop paying rent, it's not there anymore.
It goes away.
It's gone.
Exactly.
But your home, as long as you maintain it, your home is going to be great, right? Yes. And that's the website. That's the content you own. Always bring people back to your home.
Excellent, excellent. And that's a wonderful wrap. Yes. I forgot to put the timer on. Sorry about that. I am glad and I appreciate those who have viewed our presentation, our live broadcast today. Live. I appreciate you. Thanks for the hearts. Thank you, Dominic, for joining us on this lovely website, Traffic in May content that we're putting out, Hillary and I. And Dominic will be popping in every so often.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Resonate.
Yes.
Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, Bernadette.
Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you.
Right. And thank you, our audience, for staying with us and viewing us. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.